So today what we're going to work on is solving a system of equations using inverses and matrices. All right, solving a system of equations using inverses. If the coefficient matrix of a square system is a non-singular invertible, it will have a unique solution, which means it'll have one solution. So therefore, when you multiply your matrix A times X, which is going to be your unknowns, equals matrix B. Matrix B is going to be what your systems equal. Will give you a unique solution. Therefore, your variables are equal to your inverse of matrix A times your equals of your systems as a matrix. All right, so what we're going to do is this. We're going to set up a coefficient matrix and multiply it. So the parentheses mean to multiply. Multiply by the matrix of the variables equals the matrix of the equals. That's what this says right here. And then you're going to find the inverse of the coefficient matrix. That's this part here you need. And then you're going to do the matrix of the variables, which is this, equals the inverse of the coefficient matrix, that's this here, times the matrix of your equals, that's your B. You're going to actually multiply these together to find your variables, and then you do have to check. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, we want to write it as matrix A times your variables equals matrix B, which is your equals. All right, so let's set up our coefficient matrix. So this is going to be your A here. So it's 1, 0, 1, 2, 2, 4, 1, 6, 8. And then you need times your variables. Our variables are X, Y, and Z. Equals B, which is going, so this is your X here. And now you need your B. Your B is what your system equals. So your B is going to be 4, 10, and 4. Okay, the next thing you need to do is you need to find the inverse of matrix A. So plug your matrix into your calculator. 1, 0, 1, 2, 2, 4. So it's a 3 by 3, 1, 6, 8. Right? And then store that into matrix A and then do the inverse. All right, so we have the inverse of matrix A comes out to be -4, 3, -1. And then we have -6, 7/2, so change that into a fraction. -1, 5, -3, 1. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, is we want to write it as the variable equals, so our variables, so that's X, Y, Z, right, so that's your B, equals the inverse of matrix A. So this is your inverse here. So this is -4, 3, -1, -6, 7/2, -1, 5, -3, 1, times your B. Your B was what your system equals, which is 4, 10, and 4. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to multiply. We're going to multiply these together so that I get X, Y, and Z. So we have X, Y, Z is equal to, now I'm going to multiply. So it's -4 times 4 plus 3 times 10 plus -1 times 4. Okay, and then it's -6 times 4 plus 7/2 times 10 plus -1 times 4. And then it's 5 times 4 plus negative 3 times 10 plus 1 times 4. So I'm just going to move everything up a little bit. Not that. Okay, so now let's simplify this. So we have xyz equals, now we're going, so this is negative 16, positive 30, negative 4. That comes out to be 10. And then I have negative 24. We have 35 and negative 4. That comes out to be 7. Then we have 20, negative 30, and 4. That comes out to be negative 6. So therefore, I have my x is equal to 10, my y is equal to 7, and z is equal to negative 6. That's my solution. And then obviously the last thing you have to do is to check. Okay, so let's flip it over. We'll try another one. Okay, so I have solved using the inverse matrix. So the first thing we need to do is we need to do a times x is equal to b. So that's my matrix, which is going to be 4, 6, 2, 3, 3, 1, 6, 12, 3 times xyz. And that equals my equals here, which is negative 2, 1, and negative 6. The next thing we want is x equals the inverse of a times b. So you have to plug this into your calculator, this matrix, the 3 by 3 matrix, and get the inverse. So you can do that while I move everything up. So it's going to be x, your xyz, equals your inverse. Your inverse of a is going to be negative 1/2, 1, 0, negative 1/2, 0, 1/3, 3, negative 2, and negative 1. And you're going to multiply that by your b, which is what your matrix, your system equals, which is negative 2, 1, and negative 6. Okay, so now you're going to multiply. So next step is to multiply. So it's xyz equals, so it's going to be negative 1/2 times negative 2 plus 1 times 1 plus 0 times negative 6. Negative 1/2 times negative 2 plus 0 times 1 plus 1/3 times negative 6. 3 times negative 2 plus negative 2 times 1 plus negative 1 times negative 6. So then what we get is xyz equals 2, negative 1, negative 2. So therefore, x is equal to 2, y is equal to negative 1, and z is equal to negative 2. That would be my solution, and then obviously you have to check. Okay, so that's it, and we'll practice in class tomorrow. Have a good night.